When trading, you'll often find yourself looking at charts that look similar to this, price moving consistently and not too aggressively on either sides. And that is a pretty normal thing and a normal chart to be looking at. So price doesn't stick out, candlesticks don't seem to be way too different from one another. So candles are not too big in comparison to one another, and that is how normal price charts will be looking like. But there are some instances where when news come out, you'll see some candles looking like this, a huge candle that basically encapsulates the entire move that the previous run made. So you will see it started from here and all the way up to here. So it took at least a week. I am currently on the hourly chart, so each candle represents 1 hour, and you'll see how many hours it took to reach this point. And in just 1 hour, one candlestick, it reached the same starting point that it started. So you'll see just what impact news may have on your chart, and you'll see every now and then these huge spikes in price, and this is usually due to news. So how would you take advantage of this, and how would you protect yourself from news? So I will be showing you my tricks of dealing with news. So the first thing that I do when dealing with news is open up an economic calendar, and you can use this either for Forex, for stocks, or whatever you. This is a general economic calendar that covers basically everything that you need to be prepared for what news are coming out. And here you'll see when they're coming out and the impact that it has, what type of it is, and what you should be expecting. So when the news come out, you will be able to manipulate the data that you have and basically predict of where the price is going. But what I usually and mainly do for using an economic calendar is avoid taking trades when there are huge news coming out. So you'll see, let's for example say there are some huge European news coming out tomorrow morning. So I won't be trading the euro up until that point. Well, or if I'm trading up to that point, I will be closing my trades prior to that, because I don't want to be gambling my balance, because the news may have a huge impact that might be against me. So I don't want my stop loss to be hit due to a news coming out. So that is one thing that I mainly use an economic calendar for. So each time I'm placing a trade, I will first check an economic calendar and be prepared to what is coming out. If there is nothing impactful with huge impact, I will place my trade. Otherwise, I'll wait for the news to come out. And you can use whatever economic calendar you like. So if you were to search for, let's say, Forex news calendar or economic calendar, you'll see plenty of sites that provide this information. So that is definitely one thing to keep in mind when trading the news. Now, let's say you want to be trading with the news, which is not something that I would recommend a beginner to do, as it requires good fundamental analysis and good fundamental financial knowledge to be actually doing that, and good knowledge of the pair. So when trading the news, you need to have good understanding of what news are going to be coming out and how impactful those are going to be on the price chart. But what I usually do is wait for the aggression to be moving upwards. Let's say the news came out here and you'll see this huge spike coming up here. What I then will be doing is seeing the aggressiveness exhaust out and run out, and then place my trade on the opposite side, because usually when news come out, you'll see the price retrace back to the average of where it was supposed to be going. So let's say in this example, you'll see it's kind of moving in this direction, and I'm going to be drawing a trend line, and you will see the price retraced back to that trend line. So instead of trading with news, because trading with the news is pretty risky in my opinion, and avoid doing so, I usually wait for the retracement. So I will be placing my trade up to this point if it met any of my confluences that I have for my strategies. And if it did, this will be a great opportunity for you to be entering. And you'll see that this point is kind of a resistance point where price seems to be retracing and respecting. So you can see on the right hand side it respected it, and on the left hand side it again respected it. So you'll see once it reached that point, I will be looking for short-term trades, and I will be targeting around this area right here, because I will be drawing this trend line and expecting the price to be retracing back. So again, this needs to be back tested and be in place with your strategy. I wouldn't be trading solely because of news, because you don't know how aggressive these may be. As the example I showed you before, in this case, for example, you'll see that the news that came out were very important, had a huge impact on the price of this chart, and ended up pushing the price to reverse in direction. So we saw how aggressively it dropped and canceled out the entire previous move. So keep in mind, trading with the news is pretty risky, and I will avoid trading the news if I'm a beginner. But if you know your stuff and you feel confident that you know how the news are going to play out, and feel confident, hey, the price will be retracing, but you can use this to your advantage and use news to your advantage. And I usually place trades similar to this setup right here, depending on the news, of course. If the news are not too impactful and feel like this will cause a reversal and it reverse back to the initial point, I will be placing my trades around this area. So selling around here. So let me just give you an example. I'll be shorting on the candle here and targeting, let's say, this area right here. So I'll be drawing my trend line and I'll be monitoring this position very closely, because this could easily carry on to the other side. But if I were to place this trade, I will be looking at something like this. So this is my best tips that I have for the news, and I usually would recommend beginners to avoid trading the news and use the economic calendar to protect themselves from getting a stop loss due to the news coming out. So this is my main concern, and this is how I usually use the economic calendar. And keep in mind that the news create opportunities for you to place trade afterwards. So these are my ideas for news. If you have any, please comment them below. If you have any recommendations for a video, again, comment below. And anyway, goodbye, have a good rest of your day.